This single moment could have saved the galaxy from decades of darkness. High above Coruscant, three powerful men stood in the observation tower of the Invisible Hand. Two were Jedi, and one was a Sith Lord who thought he was in control. But Count Dooku was about to learn a hard lesson. For in the world of the Sith, loyalty is a lie. When Chancellor Palpatine gave the order to kill him, Dooku hesitated for just a second. In our timeline, that hesitation cost him his head. But today, we explore a different path, where the Count strikes back. The hum of Anakin Skywalker's blue lightsaber and Dooku's own red blade filled the room. Dooku was on his knees with his hands severed, looking up at the man he served. He expected a plan or a pardon, but instead, he heard the words that shattered his reality. "Kill him!" In the movie, Dooku stared in shock, but Dooku was a master duelist and a man of pride with lightning reflexes. In this reality, the shock turns instantly to rage as he realizes he is just a loose end to be cut. Summoning the last reserves of his strength, Dooku doesn't beg. He uses the Force, not to push Anakin away, but to crush the throat of the man sitting in the chair. The Chancellor gasps, with his eyes bulging, as the invisible grip of a betrayed Sith Lord snaps his neck, before Anakin can even swing his blade. I want to say a huge thanks to everyone who left comments on our last video. This entire scenario came from a discussion you guys started about Dooku's potential, and this video wouldn't exist without that inspiration. If you have another what-if idea, drop it down below because we picked the most liked ones for future scripts. And if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Silence falls over the observation deck now that the Chancellor of the Republic is dead. Anakin Skywalker stands frozen, his mind unable to process what just happened. His friend and mentor, the leader of the Republic, is gone. Then the red haze descends. Anakin doesn't care about Jedi trials or justice anymore. He screams a raw sound of pure fury and brings his lightsabers down. Dooku is exhausted and handles with no defense. Skywalker ends the Count's life instantly. There are no final words or revelations about the Sith plot, just two dead bodies on the floor and a young Jedi Knight breathing heavily in the smoke-filled room. Anakin drops to his knees beside Palpatine's body, unaware that he is mourning the very monster who orchestrated the entire war. The ship is still tearing apart in the atmosphere. Obi-Wan Kenobi wakes up to a nightmare. He sees the carnage, but there is no time to ask questions because the Invisible Hand is screaming toward the surface. Together, the two Jedi must pilot the breaking vessel. The landing is just as rough as we remember, but the mood upon arrival is entirely different. When the fires are put out and the emergency crews arrive, they don't find a triumphant Chancellor smiling for the cameras. They find Anakin Skywalker carrying the lifeless body of Sheev Palpatine. The news spreads across Coruscant faster than light, and the Senate is paralyzed. The war hero has returned, but the head of state has fallen. The celebration turns into a planet-wide funeral. With Palpatine dead, the Galactic Republic faces a crisis it hasn't seen in 1,000 years. By law, Vice Chair Mas Amedda takes temporary control. But Amedda was a weak man and a bureaucrat who only had power because he stood in Palpatine's shadow. Without his master, he is lost. The Senate erupts into chaos. Bail Organa and Mon Mothma immediately push for an emergency election and a ceasefire, arguing that the death of the Chancellor and Count Dooku offers a chance for peace. However, the military hardliners want revenge and seek to crush the Separatists who killed their leader. The transition of power is messy and panicked, but one thing is missing. The guiding hand of the Sith, pushing them toward fascism, is gone. This is the most major change in our timeline. The clone troopers have biochips in their brains, waiting for a specific voice command to execute Order 66. That command can only come from the Supreme Chancellor or a direct superior authorized by him. But Palpatine is dead, and he never gave the order. Masameda knows about the chips, but he is too terrified to act. He lacks the Sith authority or the strategic mind to trigger the purge. The clones remain loyal soldiers of the Republic and continue to fight alongside their Jedi generals, completely unaware that they were built to murder them. The trap was set and the gun was loaded, but the finger on the trigger is gone. Anakin Skywalker is a broken man who feels he failed his duty to protect the Chancellor. In the original timeline, Palpatine used this guilt to twist Anakin's mind, telling him the Jedi were holding him back and that only the dark side could save his wife. Now, that voice is silent. Anakin is left alone with his fear of losing Padme. He still has the nightmares of her dying in childbirth, but without Palpatine whispering poison in his ear, Anakin turns to the only people he has left, Obi-Wan and Padme herself. He confesses his fears to Obi-Wan. Without the cloud of the dark side shrouding the Jedi, Obi-Wan might actually listen. The path to Darth Vader is blocked. On the other side of the war, the Separatist Alliance is crumbling. Sidious was the political face, and Sidious was the secret strategist. Grievous is a warrior rather than a politician. He takes command of the droid armies and orders a brutal campaign to avenge Dooku. He hides the Separatist Council on the planet Mustafar for safety, just as Sidious had planned. But Grievous lacks the foresight to outmaneuver the Republic. The Jedi Council is no longer distracted by the darkness clouding the Force, so they focus all their efforts on finding him. The war becomes a conventional conflict, one the Separatists are destined to lose, without their Sith puppet masters rigging the game. Far away on Mandalore, another Darksider feels the shift. Maul has been waiting for the moment to strike at Sidious, but he senses that someone else beat him to it. The massive disturbance in the Force tells him the Sith Master is dead. For Maul, this is both a shock and an opportunity, because he no longer has to hide from Sidious. He realizes the power vacuum is open. During the Siege of Mandalore, instead of fighting Ahsoka Tano to warn her about Anakin, he might try to recruit her to rule the galaxy with him, or simply escape to build his own crime syndicate called Crimson Dawn, without fear of Imperial interference. Maul becomes the most dangerous Force user in the galaxy. Back on Coruscant, the Jedi begin the standard procedure of clearing out the late Chancellor's office. This is the moment the truth finally comes out. Without Palpatine there to hide his artifacts, the Jedi investigators find the statues and Sith holocrons, along with the red lightsabers hidden in his private suite. Master Mace Windu and Yoda stand in the office, looking at the undeniable proof. The man they served, and who led the Republic for over a decade, was the Sith Lord they were hunting. The realization shakes the Jedi Order to its core. They realize the entire war was a sham. This discovery validates Dooku's claims and changes how history remembers the conflict forever. With the war winding down and the Sith Lord dead, the stress that was killing Padme Amidala begins to fade. Anakin is not consumed by the dark side, nor is he burning with hatred, so he does not choke her on Mustafar. When the time comes, Padme gives birth to Luke and Leia on a medical center in Coruscant, with Anakin by her side. She doesn't die of a broken heart, because her husband hasn't betrayed everything she stood for. The Skywalker family remains intact. However, Anakin still broke the Jedi Code by marrying her. He likely faces expulsion from the Order, but given his role in killing the Sith, he might leave willingly to raise his family. The Jedi Order survives, but they are humbled. The discovery that the Sith Lord was sitting right under their noses in the Senate building forces a massive internal review. Yoda realizes their arrogance blinded them. Mace Windu, who in our timeline died being blasted out of a window, becomes a key figure in restructuring the Order. They likely step back from politics after realizing that becoming soldiers for the Republic nearly destroyed them. The temple remains standing, and the younglings are safe. There is no burning library or marched assault. The Jedi continue to be the guardians of peace, but they are warier and less dogmatic while remaining deeply suspicious of the Senate. Without the funding and political maneuvering of Sidious and Dooku, the Separatist Alliance collapses quickly. General Grievous is eventually hunted down and destroyed, likely by Obi-Wan Kenobi, as planned. The Separatist Council on Mustafar waits for orders that never come, and eventually they are captured by Republic forces. The droid armies are deactivated, while corporate entities like the Trade Federation and the Banking Clan face massive sanctions and are dissolved. The war ends not with a bang, but with a series of surrenders. The systems that wanted to leave the Republic are reintegrated, though tensions remain high for decades. The galaxy is scarred, but whole. It isn't a perfect paradise, however. The Republic is still bloated and corrupt, since the very problems that allowed Palpatine to rise in the first place are still there. The clone troopers are millions of men bred for war who now have no enemy to fight. The question of their rights and citizenship becomes the next major political battle. Somewhere in the unknown regions, the backup plans Palpatine made, like the cloning facilities on Exegol, are still out there, waiting. But without their Emperor to guide them, they remain dormant for much longer. The galaxy has bought itself time for Luke and Leia to grow up in the light, ready to face whatever darkness eventually returns. In the end, a single act of betrayal by Count Dooku would have saved billions of lives. The Empire would never rise, Alderaan would never burn, and Anakin Skywalker would never wear the black mask. It shows us how fragile history really is, because one decision can shift the destiny of an entire galaxy. It's a fascinating world to imagine, where the heroes get a chance to be happy, even if the road there is still difficult. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.